Why does feminism have such a negative connotation, or why does it make so many people angry? The concept of feminism right now. Um, T-shirt on the left, feminists are stupid, throw rocks at them, and three young women holding up signs that clearly indicate negative ideas about the concept of feminism. So I asked myself why that is. If we look at what Anne Mallour is talking about in her analysis of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, she's talking about how feminism is actually a response to men actually maybe overstepping their bounds in terms of science research and other fields of pursuit. So why would this be a negative idea that one gender needs to be equally represented in the world? One idea is that the feminist movement has three distinct waves. And those are identified by first wave, second wave, third wave. The first one being suffrage, a focus on suffrage and women's rights to vote and other legal liberties that came in the 19th and early 20th century. A little bit later, the 60s and 70s, the focus is on equal pay and career opportunities, women being able to work right alongside men in the workforce, as well as reproductive rights, including birth control. Third wave. Third wave, now look at her face. She is angry. She's holding up a sign that says patriarchy. They suggest by this little meme here that she fights for equality by focusing exclusively on the idea that females are victims, and it's mostly done on social media. It is mostly middle and upper class U.S. white women. Rejects labeling by adopting labels and identities, something I want to get to here in a minute. And everything is the patriarchy's fault. So where does this come from? In fact, there are memes suggesting that first and second wave feminists would not recognize third wave feminists as being a part of what their cause is. Stop taking our accomplishments to perpetuate your hate agenda. So third wave feminism has been associated with angry and hateful kinds of behavior. This is another picture of those women from before. So a scholar named Martha Rampton from Pacific University took on these ideas and really tried to parse out what first wave, second wave, third wave feminism is. And just to keep things simple, she does agree with the first wave of feminism, the second wave of feminism, what those things were about. But she suggests that the girls, and they do call themselves GRRLS, according to her, of the third wave, they have stepped into feminism being strong and empowered. They're not going to be victims. So rather than casting themselves as victims, she says they are pushing that aside. And the other thing they're doing is defining feminine beauty for themselves instead of as the world of patriarchy, so there's that word again, has set it up. They've also developed a rhetoric of mimicry, reappropriating derogatory terms or terms that are meant to be derogatory, like slut and bitch, in order to subvert sexist culture and deprive those of being verbal weapons that can be utilized. And here is a video that went viral, okay, in response to some of this. Why I'm not a feminist, addressing each point of what this person sees as negative about third wave feminism. Jenna Christian, who happens to be an academic, a person who has studied gender relationships quite a bit, has a blog. And on her blog, she took Lauren Southern's video on point by point and responded to it. So here we have a really good example of two texts actually talking back and forth to one another and trying to reach a consensus, which I think is an important thing to bring into a presentation like this, that there are other voices out there. What I wanted to get back to a minute ago was the idea of reappropriating terms like the academics suggested that women have done with the terms slut and bitch. Homosexuals, as we discussed in Cooper's essay on Dorian Gray and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and so forth, suggested that those folks, the homosexual community, have tried to reappropriate the term queer. And in fact, in a lot of ways, that has been successful because we have a recognized literary theory called queer theory, a way to look at literature through the eyes of whether it is talking about the homosexual community. But he suggests in his essay that this often backfires when, especially in monster culture, for example, and specifically, the homosexuals are cast as monsters and do monstrous deeds. And then it backfires, not actually lending strength to their position at all. This is something that Anne Rice has actually focused on with feminism in her Vampire Chronicles series. There is a woman who comes into one part of the story, and she is actually brought back by Lestat and his contemporaries. And she really, as it unfolds, she's a feminist, but her idea of being a feminist is killing all men and ridding the world of men. So when it backfires like that, then it is associated with a feminist, in this case, being a monster. In Everyday Feminism, and this was written by Kelsey Lupto, she is talking about what she hears in college classrooms. That's so weird. They didn't even sound like crazy feminists. They actually make sense. And she responds with, yes, I do discuss feminist theory with completely normal humans on a regular basis in simple social situations. And really what she's getting at is that feminism is a creature with many faces. You can't just stick it in a box. And I think that's something that the earlier memes have been trying to do, that I was showing in this presentation. Put feminism in a box. It is not something that you can easily do that with. It has a lot of different faces to it. So here's a meme, actually showing the different kinds of words, the different kinds of ideas that fall into feminism, whether you want to talk about it as second wave or third wave. Third wave, of course, it would be the ongoing idea of feminism now and the many different faces that maybe it has. And this is addressed in an essay. If I can find it here. Suggesting that some feminists have pushed back against other feminists by saying, okay, you can't be a feminist and pose for Playboy. You can't be a feminist and believe in wifely submission. You can't be a feminist and wear high heels and red lipstick and some ideas like that. And she suggests in this article that whatever a woman chooses to do as a feminist, third wave feminism actually exhibits not a thoughtless endorsement of choice, but rather a deep respect for pluralism, for being self determining. And so, my final question, my research question is, what is feminism? How do we define it? What is its value? What is caused and what is affected by feminism, the way it is expressed beyond second wave feminism?